Welcome back, programming languages students. In this video, we're continuing to work on classes, and we're going to work on a more complicated accessor. So, up until now, we've worked on accessors that just basically return member variable values and allow us to print each member variable value but one at a time. Elon, Phoenix, 2 games played, 1 win. Well, the next thing I want to show you is that accessors can do a little bit more than this. In fact, accessors can use logic like we've used before. Conditionals, loops, arrays, whatever we'd like to put into our accessors we can, as long as they're solving a problem. So the problem we want here is, rather than just having to print out the number of games, the number of wins, and then calculate a win percentage ourselves, it's pretty common to just print the win percentage itself. So we're going to work on getting back or returning a win percentage. So let's start with public, because at least for the first several weeks here, all of our methods are going to be public. I'll talk about why we may want to use private methods as we move along through the course. But for now, we're going to use a public method, and then we have to decide what we want to return. Now, all of our variables here are either ints or strings, and so it may be your instinct to return an int or a string, probably an int. However, with a win percentage, that's going to be a fractional number, so we're going to want to return a double. So we're going to return a double type. Even though our member variables are only strings or ints, sometimes you're going to get things that are not the same type. And so we're going to get a double. And we want to maybe get win percentage. So we're going to try to get the win percentage for our team. Now, to get our win percentage, we don't need any inputs. Within the class itself, we have enough information to figure that out on our own, because we have games played and we have games won, and from those two numbers you can generate a win percentage. We don't need any external information. So to calculate this, we're going to need to return a value, and maybe what we want to do is return games won divided by games played times 100. In theory, this would give us a good percentage, an actual explanation for what our win percentage is. Now, some of you might catch that there is a bug here. If you don't, you'll see it in a second. Let's test it out and we'll jump back and see it. If you do see it, you can go ahead and fix it in your own code ahead of time. Remember that all this code that I'm working through in these videos is available on Moodle, and you can join in and follow along as we go. So we want to test out the getter for win percentage. So I'm going to do another system.out.println with elon.get win percentage, and we'll see what we get. So before I run this, I should know what I expect. If we've won 1 game and played 2, then our win percentage should be 50% or 0.5, depending on how we write it. But I'm getting 0.0. So this is a bug. So what is the bug? Does anybody, hopefully you guys watching, you have a little hint about it. The bug is, if we divide an integer by an integer, we're going to get an integer result. So 1 divided by 2, instead of being 0.5, which would be a double or a decimal result, is just going to give us 0, because that is an integer result. It cuts off everything after the decimal place. Hopefully you remember that from CS1. So how do we fix this? Well, to do this, we would need to convert at least one of the numbers to a double. Hopefully you guys remember or have had exposure to casting. I'm going to use it here. In parentheses, double, close parentheses, casts or changes the type of the variable to the right to the type of the thing in parentheses. So games won is an integer. I'm going to temporarily treat it as a double. So games won, instead of being 1, is going to be 1.0. And then that's going to get divided by games played, which is still an integer. As a reminder, in Java, if you do a double divided by an integer or an integer divided by a double, it's going to treat them both as doubles. So it will implicitly, the word is implicit because it's not explicit, it's not obvious, it's not clear and defined and visible. It will implicitly convert a double and an integer into a double. So you only really need to convert one. There's nothing wrong with converting both. It's just typing a little extra, which isn't really necessary. But either way is fine. So we're going to convert to a double and then print, and that should get us a 50.0. And yes, now we get a 50.0. Or maybe instead of a winning percentage, you want like a win rate or win ratio, in which case you would get 0.5 by not multiplying by 100 here. So either one's really fine. I guess I said winning percentage, and as a percentage, you'd want a number from 0 to 100. So I'll multiply by 100 at the end here and give us a 50. Just to make sure this works, let's win another game. Let's do S out. No, actually, we don't need to print anything, right? If we're going to play a game, there's nothing to print. So we're going to do elon.playGame. And how did we decide it was a win? If we put true in parentheses, right? If we play a game with true, we won it. So we're going to play a game, and then we're going to copy and paste our print statement here to print out our win percentage. And now that we have won 2 and lost 1, so we've played 3, won 2, now our win percentage is 66.6 repeating percent. So that seems to be working correctly. So hopefully that all makes sense. This is just a little more complicated because we're doing a little bit of math, and we're getting a different return type than any of our instance variables, but it still works. It's still an accessor. We're just getting kind of a smart accessor. We're accessing information that's available to us that we didn't realize was available to us. Or maybe it's not clearly or explicitly available to us. The clear, explicit information available to us is the location, the name, the games played, the games won. Well, now we're also accessing or returning the win percentage, which we could calculate in our tester, but why do that? Why not write it once and then always be able to access it for any team? So hopefully that'll make sense. And we're going to do one more video after this to talk about, actually maybe 2 more videos, to talk about array lists, make sure you guys are getting comfortable with array list, and then also talk about static, which is kind of a more advanced class concept. We're going to spend a little time talking about a static method here, and then we'll dive really deep into static in another video series that we'll enter into in the future here, so in another video series. So I will see you guys in the next video.